Okay, guys, welcome to lesson 31. I'm going to try to, there we go. Today, or tonight, I guess I should say, depending on when you are watching this, we are going to continue doing exactly what we've been doing. But whereas last night I was able to start computing some of those using mental math, today it's not going to be that easy. So our objective for lesson 31 is that we're going to divide, decimal, dividends, just like we've been doing, but we're going to divide them by non-unit decimal divisors. Whoops, D-I-V-I-S-O-R-S. Okay. So again, just a little refreshment. So if I have 6 divided by 3, my vocabulary tells me that this is the dividend, this is the divisor, and this is my quotient. So hopefully you guys are getting that vocabulary down, because I can tell you that on the test you will need to know what those words mean. I can also use my strategy of when I'm trying to figure out what it is that when I'm writing this as a fraction, I can label this A, I can label this B, and I can say that I can rewrite that as a fraction, 6/3, which if you remember our application problem today, all of those equaled 4. Remember, she had 16/4, that's a fraction, but that was equal to 4 because it was an improper fraction. And then she had just a number sentence that looked like this. And so there's many different ways that you can write a division sentence. But just knowing that a fraction actually means division. That whatever that top number is, I'm dividing it by the bottom. I still have people who, on their tests, if they get a 25 out of 30, they're wondering what their percentage is. Well, guess what? That's A divided by B, which means 25 divided by 30. Okay, that being that my dividend would go in the house and it would look like this. So I would have to add some decimals, of course. And I would go and I would have to do it that way. But anytime you see a fraction, it doesn't matter if it's talking about a piece of pizza or it's talking about your test score, that means division. Okay. So we're going to start today with problem 1. All right, I'm trying to write this a different way so that you're not sideways. But I've got to wrap my arm around this. So 1A. And my problem today is 34.8 divided by 0.6. All right, so when I have a number sentence like this, what is the first thing that I want to do? I see that I have decimals. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do here is set it up as a fraction. A over B. All right. So now that I have it set up as a fraction, my schema should tell me that my next step is that I want to get rid of that decimal. So I'm going to go to my divisor here on the bottom, my denominator, and I notice that after the decimal, that 6 is in the tenths place. So in order to make this a whole number, I need to multiply it by 10 so that it goes back to the ones place. So when I do that, I have to do the same thing to the top that I do to the bottom. that really means that my decimal is just moving 100, or I'm sorry, my decimal is just moving one place. Now, the problems that we've been doing have been very much at this point, you can do some mental math and we can be done. But this here, we can't really take 606 into 348 in our heads. It's going to have to be set up as a long division problem. And since I'm doing long division, I want to go ahead and I want to use a strategy, because I don't just want to do the math and not even be close. So I'm going to go write this again, 348 over 6, and I'm going to use my squiggly lines. And I'm going to do some rounding. So I'm looking here at this 6. I'm going to look at my numerator, 348. Well, I know just from division that 6 isn't going to go into 3. So I'm going to think about 6 and what it will go into. That is close to 34. Because as I'm estimating, I want to make sure that my estimate gives me the opportunity to do mental math. So 6 goes into 34. It can go 5 times. That would be 3. That would be 30. But that would make that 300. That's really far off from 350. If I take the next multiple of 6, which would be 36, that would say that I could round that to 360. And that's close because that's really close to 350. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to round that to 360. I'm going to leave that a 0 in the ones place because I want to be efficient with my rounding, estimating. That shouldn't take you a half hour to figure that out. When I look at that, I know that 6 goes into 36 6 times, and 6 then would go into 0 times. So my answer to this problem should be about 60. Now, before you ask, do I have to estimate? Well, I'm looking right now at your homework, and guess what? It says that you need to estimate. So I should see this in your homework when you turn it in to me tomorrow. All right, so now I'm going to do the actual math. This is just what my answer should be close to. So now I set it up like a regular division problem. All right. 6 cannot go into 3. If I have 3 blocks, I cannot make a group of 6. So I'm going to make a group of 34. Well, I said 6 times 6 is 36, but I don't have 36 blocks. I only have 34. So I can't go 6 times, so I'm going to use 5. When I make 5 groups of 6, I'm using 30 blocks. So I take them away, and I'm left with 4. Then I add my ones to that, 48. 6 times 8 is 48. So I'm going to put my 8 up here. And I'm done. That is one problem. See all the steps involved. My answer, my quotient was 58. I estimated my quotient should be close to 60. So did I do a good job? Yeah, I did. So I'm going to circle this as my quotient, and I'm going to put that as my check. I was close to my estimate. All right, now I'm going to go to problem B. And I hope that you're working these with me.
Kendall Myers, line 5. Kendall Myers, line 5.
And we're going to look at 7 and 36 hundredths divided by 8 hundredths. All right, what's step 1? Call it out for me. All right, I'm going to set it up as a fraction. 7 and 36 hundredths over 8 hundredths. As I say it, I hope you hear that I'm saying the word hundredths. So that tells me that to get rid of that decimal and make this a whole number, I need to multiply by my hundreds. When I do that, now here's my trick. Now don't tell anybody. I know this is on the internet, but we can just keep it between us here. I have 2 zeros. My efficient method tells me, my efficient shortcut says, I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2 times. Now it's at the end and I have the whole number 8. I can do the same thing here. I have 2 zeros, so I can move my decimal 1, 2 times. Okay, shh, don't tell anybody that. Okay, so I have 736 divided by 8 now. Well, again, not so easy with the mental math. So I'm thinking about my factors, or I'm sorry, my multiples of 8. 8 times 8, 8 and 8. 8 times, oh goodness gracious. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 10 is 800. Okay, so let's just look at these first two numbers. Do you think 736 is closer to 720 or to 800? All right, I'm going to go with 720 because 836, that is way far off from 800. So now that I have this, I'm going to estimate that my answer should be close to 8 goes into 72 9 times, and it goes, we're doing a factor of 10 there, so we're going to have a 0 or a multiple of 10. So my answer should be close to 90. All right, that is just my estimate. That is not my answer. So I'm going to do check my work. 8 goes into 736. All right, so I just said that 8 times 9 is 72. I would subtract, and I would bring down that 6. And 8 goes into 16 2 times. So I have my quotient as 92 and my estimate as 90. Yeah, I'm going to give myself a check mark because I am an estimating fool. Hope you're right there with me and you're able to do this too. So I can always also, if I'm not 100% sure, I can always go back and check my math if you remember. Whoops, I forgot to finish that problem. I've been working with you all too long. I can take 92 times 8 and I should get 736. Oh, and look at that. So I know that that math is correct. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing is that for some reason or another, when we're moving decimals, sometimes we're putting zeros in the middle of these numbers. Now you can't do that, okay? If the number is 736, it doesn't matter where that decimal is, you have to keep that 7, 3, and 6 together, okay? They're like joined. So you can't go sticking anything in the middle of it. You have to keep those together. If you're going to add a 0, it needs to go at the end, not in the middle of the number. So make sure that you are being proactive and paying attention to that. All right, so now we get to move on to problem 2A, and it is 21 and 56 hundredths divided by 98 hundredths. All right. Man, I know Elliot's having a fit right now because these numbers are getting bigger, but you guys can do this. All right, so I'm going to use the same strategy. Just because the numbers change or the numbers get bigger, that doesn't mean anything else changes. It's still the same steps. Step 1, make it a fraction. Step 2, get rid of the decimals. So I'm going to multiply. I'm in 98 hundredths. So that means I'm going to multiply by 100. And when I do that, there's 2 zeros. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 times. So I get 98. Move my decimal 2 times. 2,156. Oh my gosh, Miss Pipkin, I can't do math like that. Yes, you can. Okay? Yes, you can. 98. let's see. So I'm going to look at, this is a little bit tricky for me. I got to go back and check and see what I did back here too. So back here, my divisor was only a single digit. Back here, it's close. It's double digits. As a matter of fact, it's close to 3 digits because it is 98. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to estimate that. Okay, I can estimate both of these as long as it makes sense. So I would say, I'm going to come down here to my next line. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write my denominator first because I want to make this efficient. 98, super close to 100. So if I'm counting by 100s, what would 2156 be closest to? 2156. Well, if I'm counting by hundreds, I know I want it to end in zeros. So is 56 closer to 2100 or 2200? I'm going to use that old look next door, 5 or greater, round my one more, add one more, and I'm going to say it's closer to 2200. Okay. So because I have 2 zeros here, I cross that out. And so my answer should be close to 22. That seems odd, but we'll check it and see. I could have made a mistake. So I'm going to take 98. And my dividend is 2,156. All right. Now, Miss Pipkin, my multiplication chart doesn't go up to 98. Ah, Miss Pipkin's given you a tool. I hope you remember it. You can start counting by 98s over here. You don't need a multiplication chart. So first things first, does 98, can I make, if I only have 2 blocks, can I make any groups of 98? Yeah, that's a negative. That's not going to happen. What if I have 98? I have 21 blocks. Can I make any groups of 98? Nope, I surely cannot. What if I have 215 blocks? Can I pull out groups of 98? Well, I should be able to. So let's see how many groups we can pull out. So this is one group. I've got a group of 98, and I've still got some more left. So I'm going to pull out another group of 98. 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 plus 9 is 18 plus 1 is 9. So there's 196. I had 215 blocks. I've used 196. I know that I'm not going to be able to add another 98, make another group, but I'm just going to try it. Yeah, 294. Can't use that too much. So I have made 2 groups of 98. Now, when I made those 2 groups of 98, I used 196 blocks. Now I'm going to subtract. 15 minus 6 is 9. 0 minus 9. Oh, wait, I can't do that. So I got to come over here, take that guy to a 1, and borrow 10. So now I have 10, take away 9 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. I'm not even going to put that 0, but I am going to bring down, whoops, that's 6. Oh my gosh, I love it when it works out like this. Look, it's going to go in evenly. I don't even have to do my math again because I already know that 98 goes into 196 22 times. Oh, hot diggity dog. How about that? I estimated 22, and look at what my quotient was. 22. Awesome. We are rock stars in this class. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at B. And problem B is 45 and 5/10 divided by 0 and 7/10. Oh, thank goodness. We're back to those single digits in the divisors. That was getting tricky. All right, step 1, say it with me. Step 1, write it as a fraction. Mommy. Step 2, get rid of the decimal. This is 7/10, so I'm going to multiply by 10. When I do that, I got 1 0, so I'm going to move that decimal 1 time. That gives me 455. And here I'm just going to get 7. All right. So because I can't use mental math here, I'm going to estimate again. So 7, I'm going to look at these first 2 digits here, 45, and I'm going to think of my factors or my multiples of 7. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. So what do you think is closer? I'm going to go ahead and say 7 times 6. So let's say that's going to be close to 420. All right, so and it's okay if I'm wrong. It's okay if I estimate in a way that doesn't work out. We just want to make sure that if our answer is supposed to be a certain number, that it's not 1,000 more. So if I have 420 divided by 7, 7 goes into 42 6 times, 7 goes into 0 0 times. So my answer, my quotient, should be close to 60. All right, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to work my actual problem. So I have 455 divided by 7. So if I have 4 blocks, I cannot make a group of 7. If I have 45 blocks, I can make 6 groups of 7. And when I do that, I'm going to use 42 blocks. I subtract. I bring down my 5, and lo and behold, it works out wonderfully again. 7 goes into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. I said my answer should be close to 60. My quotient is 65. Excuse me. I would say that I am successful. I can go ahead and check my math again. All added steps. But man, when I get a 100%, I'm going to be so much happier. 455, 455, boom, 65 must be correct. Okay, we're going to do one more here together. And hopefully you've hung with me, because I know that sometimes we feel like we're getting it and we don't finish these out. But the thing about this math is it starts off easy and it works its way to harder. And so one thing that I'm noticing is those of you not finishing the video all the way through, you are finding that you're getting to those end ones and you're not really sure what to do because of the complicated, maybe the number of digits, or maybe it's got another step in it. So make sure you hang with me here. So for C, I have 4 and 55 hundredths. I'm going to divide that by 7 tenths. All right, yell it for me. Ready? Step 1, make a fraction. So I've got 4 and 55 hundredths divided by 7 tenths. I'm going to tell you right away, I notice what's different about this is that my top is hundredths and my denominator is tenths. So I'm wondering, what is it that I'm going to multiply by? Do you know? Okay, my denominator is the boss. All right, he works downtown. He is the boss. And so because he is tenths, I'm going to multiply by 10 tenths to get rid of his decimal, because he's all I care about. He's the one that's important. So now I wind up with 7 for him. Now, this time, ooh, about dropped you there. I have 4 and 55 hundredths. I still have to move that decimal. So this decimal here is still going to move, but it's only going to move one time. So I'm still going to be left with 45.5. Now, we know that 45.5 is the same thing as 45 and a half. So just because we're left with a decimal, it doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong. It just means that we're going to have to think a little bit more about our estimation, and we have to think a little bit more about our estimation and our math. All right, so 75 and a half. Again, as I go through 7, I've got 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. I'm going to go ahead and use 49 as my estimate here. Divided by 7. So my answer should be, or my quotient should be close to 7. So let's go ahead and work this math now. My dividend goes in the box. Now let's talk about what this looks like when we go to divide and we have a decimal inside our house. This decimal doesn't mean anything, okay? We're going to treat this just as a regular division problem. And then at the end, I'll tell you what we do with that guy, okay? So 7, if I have 4 blocks, I cannot pull out any groups of 7. Can't use it. So I look next door. Now I have 45. Well, if I have 45 blocks, I can make 6 piles of 7, and I would use 42 of my blocks. I subtract, and even though that decimal's there, I just forget about him. I bring down this 5, okay? And I have 7 into 35, and that goes 5 times. All right. So I said that my answer was going to be close to 7. My quotient should be close to 7. And right now, my quotient is 65. So ding, 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 ding. There should be alarms going off on in your head. Put the brakes on. Something is not right. That's where we come back to this decimal. We do the math just like normal. And then this decimal, guess what he does? He gets a promotion and he gets to move upstairs. So my answer, or my quotient, is actually 6 and 5/10, which is in fact close to 7. So this lesson gets a little bit harder. You're going to have to actually do some of that long division. No calculators, friends. You need to be doing this and working this. This is a skill that we should already have. So if you're unsure of how to do it, then that's another Google video for you. So take this opportunity to go back, rewind, use the power of pause, and I will post the problem set next. Have a good night.